Yeah. What's up, everyone? I know it's a little early, but it is episode 299 of the FMRX podcast, and I am the Brainless One, and I have somehow managed to get myself tangled up in my notebook with my headphones. But we are good to go. Um, some of the things we're going to be talking about today. Did Bryan Danielson get over that hump to fight MJF at Revolution, I believe is the next pay-per-view for AEW. We will talk about that tonight. We are also going to talk about Jerry Lawler and what has happened, what was going on with him this week. Really crazy if you think about it. We're going to get into that as well. A certain former WWE superstar will be making his in-ring return next month for AEW. We will talk about that. Spoiler alert, he does have some kind of a connection with us in one way or another. We have new tag team champions in AEW. Sami Zayn attacked Roman Reigns on SmackDown. And we got ourselves a wonderful promo between Paul Heyman and Cody Rhodes on Monday. And I'm just waiting for Jay to pop in at any moment. And honestly, I kind of want to just take this time to get a thing or two off my chest, mostly just one thing off my chest. Earlier today, I had an interaction with a wrestling fan of a specific wrestler in particular by the name of Kenny Omega. And this fan had talked about how Kenny was the best in the business and nobody in WWE can actually match up against him. So I put in there and I said, nobody in AEW is on Roman Reigns' level. This little fucker decided that it was best for him to just come up to me, not come up to me, but reply to me and say, bro, you do know that wrestling is not real, correct? And I said, yes, I am well aware of this. And I said, I'm well aware of this, and if it wasn't for Kenny Omega's 11-minute match against the Blow Up Doll, I'm pretty sure a lot of other people would know it was fake or not real as well. Yeah?
Yeah.
What's up, Jay?
How you doing, Brainless One?
Well, I mean, minus my ism earlier from the fucking dipshit that was trying to ask me if I knew if wrestling was real or not, because I said that Roman Reigns is better than Kenny Omega. And
I get the feeling that I know what your brainless is going to be.
Spoiler alert. Yes, I think you were also right on that. But what do you want to
get into it, Brainless One? Get into it.
You want me to get into it? I just
full brainless.
Honest to goodness, Jay. The guy goes out there and he posts all these clips about what happened between Ospreay and Omega in their last match, and he said nobody in the business is better than Kenny Omega. And he said, and that includes everybody in WWE. I said, and my response was, nobody in AEW is on Roman Reigns' level. That's all I said. Nothing derogatory, nothing bad. And this fuckhead has the audacity to tell me 3 hours later, bruh, you know wrestling is not real, right? Okay, so if that's your response, what about what Kenny Omega does? Why? Because he does the trampoline shit in the fucking ring that makes him a legitimate wrestler? Is that what I'm to understand? Is it? I don't get this. Why? Because Dave Meltzer tells these people that this is what they need to know, is that Kenny Omega is the best wrestler on the planet? Is that what I'm to understand? Is that what it is? This when we talk about wrestling, we talk about wrestling moments. One of the most notorious matches that everybody talks about to this day is Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant from WrestleMania 3, which by all accounts was one of the worst wrestling matches from an actual technical standpoint. But the idea of Hulk Hogan picking up Andre the Giant and body slamming him, whether he weighed 400 pounds, 700 pounds, 9 million pounds, whether he died days later or not, everybody always talks about how Hulk Hogan slammed the Giant and always talks about that match. I talk ad nauseum over the WrestleMania 17 TLC match between the Dudleys, the Hardys, and Edge and Christian. Still to this day, one of my favorite matches. You know, I think that people realize that in wrestling, it's not just about the wrestling. There needs to be a story behind it. We're seeing it right now. We're in the middle of the greatest That was weird. It went dark. We're in the middle of one of the greatest, if not the greatest, storyline that WWE's had. Eric Bischoff came out in his show and said that what they're doing with the Bloodline is better than anything the NWO did. And this man kicked Vince McMahon's ass for 83 weeks with this NWO storyline. So tell me, Jay, as a fan of wrestling for as long as you have, tell me, how am I supposed to tell? How is Kenny Omega better?
Kenny Omega can do more stuff than Roman Reigns. And quite honestly, when he was the belt collector, I was entertained with the belt collector thing. He can go in the ring. He could do a lot of stuff that very few people in the world can do, but you don't need to be technically proficient to be able to work a crowd. Hogan and Rock at WrestleMania 18 is like one of the greatest examples of this.
Yep.
Hogan and the Giant is another great example of it. You don't need to work a technical masterpiece to,
what's up, Timmy?
To get things, you know, where the crowd is in the palm of your hands. Yeah, it's what Omega does. It is really incredible. It really is. But I have not been as captivated by his stories as I am with the Bloodline storyline. And Bischoff did say that, hey, this is a better storyline. Will it be, you know, the difference maker that NWO was to the industry? Probably not. But, you know, for a dude like Bischoff who has a ginormous ego and has a high opinion of what he did, you know, 25 years ago, for him to admit this, it is ginormous, absolutely ginormous. But like having somebody come back at you, like, you know, it's fake. Like, I mean, clearly they're a child. They're a child.
Obviously, it's, but like, you post all these videos, you show all the clips of what Kenny and freaking Will Ospreay do in this match, and believe me, I would like to watch this match, even though I would not want to watch Omega win. I think Ospreay should have won.
Do you want to pay 999 yen for it?
We have somebody who probably still does, so it's very possible I could go and see this. I'm sure I could watch it on YouTube. But the fact is that the dudes came back to me, and that was his response was, "You do know that wrestling is not real, right?" And I was like, "Of course I know wrestling's not real." I'm like, if it wasn't for the fact that I've known for years, Kenny Omega in his 11-minute long match against the blow-up doll would have proven to anybody that wrestling is not real. I mean,
how many Canadian destroyers did he take?
7 Canadian destroyers. Oh, and the best part is, apparently when what the hell was his name? His buddy, his Golden Lovers buddy. Why am I blanking on his name right now?
A couple of buddies.
Kota Ibushi apparently hit more. I think it was 9 or 11 Canadian destroyers that he got from the blow-up doll. Received from the blow-up doll.
He got.
I can't, Jay. I'm taking this time now. Everybody who's watching this podcast, I need you to understand this. I am officially done with people who are straight up elitists. That's what they are. They are elitists because they are
all elitists.
They're all elitists. Their heads are so far up Kenny's ass and the Bucks' ass that when they sneeze, it comes out of their mouths. So I'm just done with this. I am done with this cultish whole thing that the AEW fans have developed. I have seen what they're about. I am not about Twinkle Toes. I am no longer about the Hardly Boys. The fact that Twitter keeps throwing them down my throat, even though I have told them that I don't want them suggested on my timeline 5 different times this week, Elon Musk. What the fuck are you doing?
Ugh.
I am done. This is it. This is my moment. I have nothing. There is not a thing that those 3 assholes can do that is going to get me to change my mind about them. Nothing. I'm just tired of it. because they're the worst. They're like Bella Twin fans. They're like the freaking the
worst.
They're like the Mercedes Moné fans. It's like really, I can't. But that's. I had to get that off my chest. I'm sorry. I was very bothered by that earlier today. Like, how could
so? There are a couple of ways we could go from there. One thing that came out this week is more or less that John Moxley said he is ride or die with AEW. In that specifically, he said that as long as he's in the company, he will not allow them to suck. Kenny and the Bucks still show up on our TV. What do you have to say about that?
I like Moxley.
And I know you love Mox.
And I'll tell you right now, it's every time one of these wrestlers comes out and does one of these things where they're so pro AEW, I look to see who it is. Like Matt Hardy's like, oh, this is the best person I ever worked, the best booker I ever worked for is Tony Khan. And all these like Jake Hager's now coming out and shitting over Punk. Oh, Punk was wrong. Even though I wasn't there, but Punk was wrong for what he's done. And now it's like Jake the Snake. Oh, Kenny Omega's the greatest wrestler I've ever seen. No disrespect to Ric Flair or Shawn Michaels. What? I'd like to see Kenny Omega try to pull off the Black Scorpion better than fucking Ric Flair did. I'd love to see. You know what? I would love to see Kenny Omega get in the ring with Hulk Hogan because we all know that Kenny would probably cry worse than Shawn Michaels did in SummerSlam 2005 for having to put over Hulk Hogan. That stupid buffoon would have been doing somersaults through the fucking crowd. Oh my God, Hulk Hogan hits him with a punch.
Wait, would it have been like the somersaults in the stadium stampede match?
Somehow Hulk Hogan would have punched him and Kenny would have hit himself with 7 Canadian destroyers.
It would have been great.
I just, and to top it, like, since we're on this topic of like faking everything and real, MJF cuts that promo on Wednesday. Tells the story about what happened to him and a girl where she was doing things to him as he was driving and they crashed. He gunned it and crashed into a tree and switched spots. The girl's name for all purposes, his name is Liv. So that freaking flew up a bunch of freaking red flags there. But apparently after this,
you only live once.
My favorite part is hundreds of people apparently called the Nassau Police Department and we're trying to have charges brought against MJF. Are you kidding me? That's what I'm talking about. MJF is not part of my vitriol of how I feel about AEW because that man is going to make himself a shit ton of money in about a year's time from now. Thank God when that happens, but I'm sure he'll talk about, oh, I can't wait for my next 9 years and 11 months to expire and I get my new contract. But what were your thoughts on that?
On the MJF thing,
yeah.
And the people calling the police, it reminded me of back in the day when we had referee Tim White with Josh Matthews in the friendly tap, and they kept on having like the like Tim White is suicidal segments. There were people that called the police in Rhode Island to make sure that Timmy White was okay.
What's up, Jessica?
All I could tell you is the fact that MJF convinced enough people that this happened. I mean, I don't know how they didn't pick up on the fact that like this was not a real story, but he's just out there, cutting a promo and like I enjoyed the promo. And this is one of those instances where I enjoy the ridiculousness of wrestling fans.
Yeah. I have one question I got to ask. The dude who asked me if wrestling was not real, if I knew if it was not real, do you think he called the Nassau Police Department after that story from MJF?
No.
I don't think so either.
No.
But there's certain things they do, and this is one of the things that they've talked about, and like like all the heat that people like New Jack used to get back in Smoky Mountain, and the what the Nation of Domination was able to do, and the NWO was able to do with the heat that they were getting. You know, how many times we heard stories about wrestlers getting snuck out of the building? Didn't they have to? I want to say the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov, they used to stick them in the ambulance after shows because people wanted to beat them up in the parking lot.
They had to like get security after the Road Warriors did what they did to Dusty Rhodes at Starrcade. Like they would have been in trouble. There was a time where Ric Flair, I think it was in Puerto Rico, like said, "I need to lose this match or I am going to get killed." So he lost the title unofficially, only to have it like sent back to him.
I remember that.
I mean, that was back in the day.
Yeah.
When people were still thinking everything was 100% legit, these people were doing these things to their heroes and took a lot of cojones to do what those guys did back in the day and did not get paid anywhere near what people are getting paid now.
Right. And I'll tell you, like, those Tales from the Territories have been great because they've been also kind of showcasing the stuff that some of the wrestlers back in the day went through because wrestlers or the fans were so convinced that kayfabe was not a thing that they would go and, like, shoot them or blow things up or death threats and throw shit in the ring. It's just incredible what they went from then.
Just incredible.
To what we're dealing with now, where we went from guys who were getting threatened to get shot over promos and storylines back in the 70s and 80s to Kenny Omega eating 47 Canadian destroyers from a sex doll.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a great promo. MJF, every once in a while, when you think he gets a little, like, stale, he throws a really big dagger and, like, oh, man. He's good, and he's got a very high ceiling, and he's got a lot of potential, and he's got a very bright future. I hope for great things for him at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
And I just wanted to add one more thing, since we're on the MJF thing. I'm sorry. MJF did do an interview, or actually he went out on Twitter yesterday, I believe it was, and he came out to the defense of Nash Carter, Zachary Wentz, the guy who was in MSK, who the day after he won the tag team championship, his wife posted the picture of him with the Hitler mustache and everything. MJF came to his defense and said, I can tell you right now, I've known Nash Carter for a long time, or Zach Wentz, and he is not an anti-Semite. He goes, it's just a shame that a woman would go and post this fake stuff, this fake beating and everything, just to, make him look bad and all this stuff. And he was like, I've known him for a long time. He goes, there was a wrestler I worked with years ago who shall remain nameless, who took his keys and keyed into MJF's car, a very derogatory thing about MJF. And it was actually, when everybody else turned a blind eye to him, Zachary Wentz actually came to MJF's defense. So I do appreciate, considering everything that MJF has done. Like, he takes kayfabe to unbelievable heights on Twitter. Like, he goes after people and all this stuff. So the fact that he came out to this dude's defense, I had to mention it just because I was wondering, I haven't seen the dude. I know he somewhat has ties with Impact Wrestling, and his buddy Wes Lee is killing it on NXT. Yeah. And it's so I just wanted to make mention of that just because we were talking about MJF.
Sure. And speaking of promos, holy shit. Monday night. Paul Heyman and Cody Rhodes.
Speaking of Jewish people who could cut promos. I know.
I mean, the whole thing was just straight fire. Where like, I think Heyman legit was a little bit taken aback by the story that was being told. I don't. They probably had worked parts of it out ahead of time.
Yeah.
But I think there were parts where Heyman said, "Don't tell me what you're going to say," and Heyman is one of those dudes who, like, you could say something and he could shoot from the hip and still hit you right between the eyes, no matter what you throw at him. But the thing was, like, Cody was up to the task. He went head to head with, in my view, the greatest promo in modern wrestling and perhaps all of wrestling. And he stood toe-to-toe with him, and it was absolutely captivating. You know, instead of, like, you know, there's a whole lot of stuff going on with the bloodline right now.
Yep.
And after that promo, I can't wait to see Cody versus Roman. I want to see where the story ends with that. I still want to see what goes on with the bloodline.
Yep, I do too.
But I want to see that story.
I am so impressed because not only was that promo incredible, and Chris Brown did mention that, and that entire promo was unscripted. So I wanted to mention that, but my goodness, and especially with everything that Roman's going through, we saw what's going to be happening with him and Sami Zayn at Elimination Chamber, where they had a little confrontation on Friday, and I loved what they did on Friday. That was just exceptional production by W. Let me just say this: Triple H has
Wait. Are you going to give kudos to Kevin Dunn?
No, I would never give kudos to Kevin Dunn. I didn't say that the camera shots were good. I'm just saying that the people behind the scenes who are putting this stuff together are doing a really good job. I'm not. I would never in my. Okay, one of these days I will compliment Bucky Beaver, but it's not going to be today. Since Triple H took over, this Sami Zayn has just skyrocketed. This whole bloodline storyline, people are, the fact that, like we said, Eric Bischoff is talking about how good the bloodline storyline is. With all of this is happening, and with Sami and Roman on the collision course for Elimination Chamber for the title, the fact that they're not discounting Cody Rhodes in the process, because a lot of times when you have a champion who's looking forward towards WrestleMania, has other matches usually set up, like we're having now.
I mean, for me, think back to WrestleMania 27. The Miz was doing everything he could to stay relevant because everybody was thinking about Cena and Rock.
Yep.
And here we are where it's like, oh, Sami and Roman. Sami and Roman. And back during WrestleMania 27, it's the Miz did all he could to remain super relevant in that storyline, but he was completely overshadowed. And that was not against his, that's nothing against his work. Nope. It's just what happened. Cody is not overshadowed by this.
Nope. That
promo put him in the game.
And I will say that the people that keep comparing what happened, and I'm guilty of it. I'm gonna say I'm guilty of it. The people that are saying that they're gonna make the same mistake like they did 9 years ago, Cody's a different animal that we're talking about than Batista. No pun intended.
Yeah.
This is Cody was put on the back burner only because of an injury. And upon his return, this is who the fans want to see. They wouldn't have chanted, you deserve this, the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania, if they didn't think Cody Rhodes deserved this.
Royal Rumble.
I'm sorry, the Monday Night Raw after the Royal Rumble. Thank you. I am brainless, so I apologize. But I do appreciate that it was still Heyman that went and did the promo. Because if you're even though, you know, with Roman with the limited times, you could still have the wise man. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens, especially with Elimination Chamber. Do we see Cody get involved in any way, shape, or form? if there's a situation where if Roman does go over on Sami Zayn and they just start pummeling him, all of the bloodline, does Cody come for the save? I have a tinfoil hat theory. I'm not going to get into it. I want to get all the pieces correctly before I start.
Well, I mean, Elimination Chamber, is it next weekend?
Yes, it is next weekend.
So during our 300th show, we will get into all of that crazy stuff.
I'm so happy that our 300th show is going to be the Elimination Chamber show in Montreal for Sami Zayn's first official. I ain't counting that one where Brock Lesnar took him to Suplex City before he got his match. When he's in front of that town or that city for that match at the end, he's got to come out to Worlds Collide too. I don't care what anybody says. His new entrance has kind of grown on me, but come on, are you kidding me? That place singing along to him is going to be incredible. That pop he's going to get is incredible. And I'll tell you right now, I bet you any money they're going to see what happens with that kind of reaction that he gets from the fans, because I got a sneaking suspicion that not both championships are going to be on the line when Roman meets Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. And I'm not saying it's because Sami Zayn is going to take one of the belts on next Saturday. I'm telling you, Roman Reigns is going to be defending both titles, on separate nights at WrestleMania.
And with Triple H in charge of booking and creative at the moment, you don't know necessarily that it's going to be the Vince booking of, well, they're in their hometown. They have to lose.
Right.
I need to keep them humble, just like the Iron Sheik does with Hulk Hogan.
Yeah?
Yeah!
Oh, that's such good shit. And I am curious to see how they're going to do that, too, because we all know that's going to be, like you said, kind of like when Daniel Bryan turned on the Wyatt family when you were at the Providence Civic Center and you felt the building shake. That play, if Sami Zayn somehow, some way, pulls off the upset of all upsets and beats Roman Reigns next Saturday, Montreal's probably going to fucking implode.
Will they have another Montreal screw job 25 years later?
I've thought about that too. Oh, I have so many different.
We could talk tinfoil next week.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
I mean, yeah, that's something that could happen.
The biggest thing that has gotten out is that there's a possibility that both Jimmy and Jey Uso are not going to be allowed in Montreal because Canada has very, very strict rules against people with DUIs. Yes, Jey had one many years ago and has done a hell of a job at staying, keeping his nose clean. But Jimmy's had more than one. I'll be nice. He's been doing good of late. I'm not going to talk about the picture that somebody posted of him with the Miller Lite or the Miller in his hand, whatever it was. But
yeah,
that's a very interesting wrinkle if the Usos can't make it, especially because they're supposed to defend the titles tonight. Does Jey Uso show up tonight?
We are going to find out in a couple hours.
Yes. And honest to goodness, Jay, I love what they did with that last week. They did such a great job with continuing on with the story where they were like, have you seen Jay? Oh, man, if I haven't talked to him, nobody's talking to him. I've been so impressed with everybody in the Bloodline storyline that I can't pick a favorite anymore because everybody is delivering performances of a lifetime, and I am so happy for it. I loved everything they did, the whole build-up and everything. Roman sending them to the bus and all that stuff. And then finally he goes out there and he does his shtick and everything. And then Sammy comes out and attacks him. Spears him better than Edge did before he had his most recent surgery on his neck. And Jimmy Uso and Solo came out, and it looked like they were going to attack Sammy in the corner. And Roman's like, no, and he got in his face. Roman Reigns is on an entirely different level of anybody else. I think once this, I'm going to admit this now, Jay. When this storyline is over and we see what Roman Reigns has done, Roman Reigns is going to be in that conversation with the Hulk Hogan, John Cena's, the Steve Austins, and the Rocks.
Do you believe he has gotten to this level because he is a 7-time Marquee Award winner for the wettest hair?
I think so. He's the only person who's won it 7 in a row, and unless he shaves his head this year, he's going to get it in 8th year. But
yeah,
I'm pretty sure, I forget exactly which WrestleManias it was, but he's already main evented 7 of them, and he's
going to catch up to Hulk Hogan in the next couple of years.
I cannot believe it. Even though the era of Roman when they were just blah, blah, we're going to shove him down your throat and you're going to enjoy it whether you like it or not. I'll take that out of the equation. Since his return, when he fucking speared the fat clown that he called the Fiend and then won the championship back, this is just, I've been watching wrestling for almost 35 years at this point. I have never seen dominance like this before. And Hulk Hogan was champion for like 4 years at one point when I was a kid. What Roman is doing is just absolutely incredible because the more he progresses in the storyline, the better he is getting. People hated him because of the way they booked him. People wait for him to get in the ring now and say, Norfolk, acknowledge me. And the whole place fucking goes nuts.
And then he cuts him down.
And then he's going to go to Montreal, and we're going to have, if Roman Reigns wins, we riot. But I have been such a huge fan of this story. This is the most compelling television that WWE has ever produced.
Yeah. Chris Brown.
All right.
Asking the question, is Roman Reigns a modern-day Bruno? We don't talk about Bruno, no.
I would say probably not, just because how many people do you think used to pack into Madison Square Garden to watch Bruno Sammartino body slam Haystacks Calhoun? This was back when television wasn't the way it was. I think if Roman was kind of like the strong man who had the shtick like that, I hate to say it, but it's Hulk Hogan who's the closest we've gotten to Bruno Sammartino.
Yeah.
Or Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar's kind of more of an attraction. People come to see Brock Lesnar. I'd fucking go to see Brock Lesnar. I'm praying that he's going to be at 40 in Philadelphia next year.
Right.
I am, oh my God, I want to see Brock Lesnar. Just once. I need to see Brock. He's an attraction. He's the Bruno Sammartino now. I would say Roman Reigns is the next. He's kind of like in that John Cena, Hulk Hogan, where he's just, and I can't even say that because he's doing it as a heel. That's what's even more impressive about what Roman Reigns is doing. Hulk Hogan at his peak when he was the champion for forever in 5 days. He was a face.
WWF.
In WWF. He was a face. John Cena, when he was champion for, the 75 times he was champion, always a face. Roman is doing what he's doing, and he's doing it as a heel. He's doing it like Hollywood Hogan tried to do in WCW. And I applaud him. This is such good shit, pal.
He did the interview where he talked about, hey, if you want to go to the Sizzler or what have you and enjoy what they have there, go and do that. Watch Monday Night Raw and go to the Sizzler and enjoy that. If you want filet mignon, tune in to SmackDown. Yeah, we have to cook it a little longer, but when you taste it, it's going to be that much better. And he's not wrong about that.
Right, I agree. And I thought it was funny because he mentioned the Sizzler, and I think Cornette also mentioned the Sizzler this week. So now the core memory of me and Sizzler now we need a Sizzler again.
It always takes me back to Happy Gilmore.
Hey,
Shooter!
Want to go to the Sizzler? My treat. Hey, Gilmore.
You jackass!
You suck, you jackass. Oh, that was such a good one. Chris Brown asked if it needs to be asked, when Roman steps away to dip his toes in Hollywood for a bit, who becomes the number one heel in the WWE? Gunther. He is, what is he? He's like the 4th or 5th longest reigning Intercontinental Champion. He is the longest reigning, he is the longest, most current champion since Cody Rhodes held it for like 200 days. He's gonna pass. He might pass the Honky Tonk Man if he doesn't drop the belt at WrestleMania to Sheamus, like I'm hoping and praying that he does. But that
he's not going to come out with the honkometer.
No, and I'll tell you right now, we got a taste of. I'm convinced that's the WrestleMania 40 main event right there. Is Gunther and Cody Rhodes. They might just do it. They might pull the trigger quicker and do it at SummerSlam this year. I wouldn't be surprised by that, and I wouldn't be disappointed by that. But Gunther's your guy. I've been saying this for months now. You put the rocket on his back and shoot him to the fucking moon. That's your guy. That's your top heel for the next 10 years. He showed everybody what he is very capable of. That performance, his performance in the Royal Rumble, he is him. That was his performance. That's your guy. You want a guy who's going to even surpass Roman as your top heel? It's Gunther. If you want somebody who's going to help Roman when he eventually turns face again, it's Gunther. You got your guy right there. I'm sorry. There's no ifs, ands, buts, or any questions about it. Gunther is their biggest heel going forward.
Okay.
What are your thoughts, though? Is there somebody that you could think of?
I mean, off the top of my head, I don't think there's anybody on that level yet. I mean, douchey Dominic, I mean, he really gets a reaction, but he's not there in the ring. He's not there on the promo. Heck, Roman wasn't there on the promo for a long time. It wasn't until he had his feud with Cena, where he went from being trash on the mic to being passable on the mic. And then he finally really launched and understood what it was to hold the audience in his hand. I always come back to the night after WrestleMania, after he beat The Undertaker, and he just sat there for 15 minutes and just said, "It's my yard now."
Mm-hmm.
But he knew how to hold that audience, and it was absolutely perfect. So, I mean, there are guys out there that could take the mantle. You got guys like Austin Theory that in a few years, maybe. But if you're talking today, now, Gunther is probably the closest thing you've got. But even so, he has not developed enough of a rapport with the audience. I think if you got somebody like Randy Orton who came back, I mean, we saw what he did a handful of years ago when he put the screwdriver in Jeff Harvey's ear and did all the crazy stuff. I still hold firmly in my belief, if you truly want to turn Randy Orton heel, he needs to get away from the RKO.
I think we're at the point right now that Randy Orton could do anything he wants because he's Randy Orton. And that is one fantastic name. I got a feeling we're going to see Cody and Randy Orton go face-to-face at some point after Cody wins the belt. I want that. That is what I want. If that's a WrestleMania match for next year, I'd be happy with that too.
Or if it's a SummerSlam match.
But I think
or if they make it because they're going to the UK for Money in the Bank, if they want to try to sell tickets for a stadium show in the United Kingdom, is that where you put it? Do you put Cody against Brock Lesnar? Because quite honestly, Brock Lesnar is just Brock Lesnar. He's not heel or face. He's just like Randy Orton is not heel or face. He's Randy Orton. and it doesn't matter. People love them and will pay to see them.
Yeah.
And, oh, by the
Agreed.
way, it's still unsure whether or not Brock Lesnar has agreed to any sort of extension because he signed an 18-month deal, and that deal allegedly will be up like right after WrestleMania.
Yeah, and Chris Brown is also saying that they announced that the SmackDown before the UK show will actually take place live in London. So that's a huge thing for them too.
Does this make this Clash at the Castle 2 and 3? Because this could really fast forward them getting to Clash 13. Oh, by the way, make sure you check out our Facebook page for the Brainless One's review on Clash of the Champions 13. Check it all out.
I had to read it a few times just because I got so baked. I didn't even remember what I put for some of it. It was such good shit, though.
Like a shrinky dink.
I definitely watched Primetime Brian Lee and the Z-Man more times than I care to admit to. But I think to go back to the heel thing, Randy Orton, I think, makes a lot of sense if you need that stopgap, already established guy to be your heel. And I do agree. I think that we are going to get Brock and Cody at some point, and they're both kind of the Randy Brock or just Randy and Brock. I do think long term Gunther is your guy, but I do agree with you. He needs to kind of develop more of a rapport with the fans, and I think that what he did at the Royal Rumble and this Intercontinental title reign has been fantastic, and it's the best way you're going to do it because he needs exposure.
Yeah.
So, and my favorite was
the Mad Dog's gonna fly.
I wanted to mention this too. Jessica said my favorite thing was Jessica said Dominic is just there. I think that's a very fair assessment too about Dominic. Oh, and she wants to know who we like to see take the tag team championships from the Usos.
I mean, I said it a couple weeks ago. I believe the smart money is on Captain Cupcake and Sami Zayn at WrestleMania. But as far as who I would like to see take those titles, that's a different question. That's a different answer. And quite honestly, like, my brain says the Street Profits, but I get the sneaking suspicion that pretty soon that Montez Ford is going to be casting off on his own. I think they're going to start his ascent right around the time when the Hulu series is either about to premiere or after it premieres.
Yep.
And Big E came out this week and said that, hey, Montez Ford has all the tools. Let's not waste any more time. Let's start this train rolling. I'm in 100% agreement with him, and timing is everything, but I think that we'll see that in the next 6 months. I would like it to be the Street Profits, but I don't think it's going to be the Street Profits who win this.
I've been saying for months. How many times have I been praying main event Montez Ford on the podcast? I talk about it on Twitter. It's his time. He's my pick to win Money in the Bank. I would love to pick him to win the United States Championship in the Elimination Chamber next Saturday, but I got a different thought on that one. The fact that he's in the Elimination Chamber, I gushed because I was so happy for him because I've been waiting for this. He is exactly what Big E said. He is the total package, and he's not Lex Luger. And I can't wait to see them shoot him to the moon. Let's see. Oh, Brainless One, I heard something about SmackDown tonight that's going to give you an ulcer. More than likely, Ronda is back. Well, I will say this. At least it's not Nia Jax. That's all I'm going to say about Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler potentially planting the seed for their tag team match against Toxic Attraction or not Toxic Attraction, Damage Control.
I was gonna. Hey, now that you slipped with that, do you want to get into that?
I really don't, but let's do it anyway, just because. Let's just get it over with. I am not happy, but go ahead, please.
I mean, you could be not happy. I appreciated greatly the homage that they played to the barber shop. And the fact, like, they didn't have a window. They had the ding-dong hello door from Bailey, and that bump looked like it sucked.
It did.
Into the door. And then the kicks looked stiff as shit.
Jay, the kick was stiff because Gigi Dolan on Wednesday posted a picture with the bruise on the side of her face where she got kicked in. Oh my, you could see it in her face. Jay, I've never felt worse for a wrestler in my entire life in any kind of a segment other than the dogs in the dog kennel from Hell match that Al Snow and the Big Boss Man had many years ago. I felt bad for Gigi Dolan for what happened to her because not only did that, like you said, the bump into the table or the door looked really bad, but the kick to the face. You know how like when you see a TV show,
WTF? Why the face?
Exactly. You know how like when you're a guy and you see somebody get hit below the belt and you're like, oh, every time. That's what I did to my face when she got kicked on Tuesday. My only question is, and what planet is J.C. Jane the Shawn Michaels to anybody's Marty Jannetty, especially Gigi Dolan's?
I don't know. I think it was too soon to break them up.
Agreed.
They did what they did, and we're going forward. But I thought the segment itself was great.
Honestly, they did so much wacky shit on NXT on Tuesday. I was confused. You had little Katana Chance, who was mad that her and Kaden Carter lost the tag team titles on Saturday, and it was like listening to a 6-year-old yell at you that they had their lollipop taken from them. She's not believable as a heel by any means, and they should not turn that poor woman into a heel at all. And they take out their frustrations on the NXT Women's Champion? That doesn't make any sense. You did the whole thing where you broke up Toxic Attraction. That was as clear as day that they were going to do that. And that whole I knew it was coming. Because I said it's either going to be WWE taking away one of my favorite women's tag teams in Toxic Attraction, because every time the Brainless One loves a tag team in the women's division for WWE, they find a way to fuck it up for me. As long as they keep the best friends together at AEW, I'm fine. And as of right now, they're in better shape than Toxic Attraction, clearly. But
yeah,
do you think? Let me ask you this: do you think this is their way of kind of like punishing them for what Mandy Rose did, or do you think that this is a byproduct of her release?
I think it's a byproduct of her release, and I think they're trying to see, can they swim on their own, or were they just part of a group? Can they get over on their own? Oh, by the way, Mandy Rose came out this week and officially stated, whether this is true or not, I don't know, but she said she was never warned about her site.
That doesn't surprise me.
It is not a shocker.
No, not at all. I really just, I think at the end of the day, when you're you have two different women's tag team championships and you're breaking up legitimate tag teams that have actually worked together. And the fact is, it's tonight for the SmackDown or the Raw. I don't even know if it's for the Unified or what. We're getting Braun Strowman and Ricochet, who a month ago, Braun Strowman was basically making fun of Ricochet. And now they're fighting for the tag team championships tonight. But let's break up Toxic Attraction. That makes sense. Braun
Strowman, to be fair, won with Nicholas.
The fact that he chose Nicholas over Okada is a moot point. I don't want to hear it.
Now, talking about gruesome injuries that happened.
Oh!
Dominic Dijak. Like, the way he was giving the middle finger on Twitter, kind of hilarious, but, like, also brutally disgusting. That dude is a beast. He's a monster. Holy shit, he finished the match.
It was a fun match, too. I'll admit, I watched the NXT TakeOver, and I'll continue to say this. There is no such thing as a bad NXT TakeOver unless it's on a Tuesday night. Oh, man. And you know what's crazy about that, Chris Brown, is it wasn't even broken. It was just dislocated. He avoided a total break altogether. And Shawn Michaels praised him for the fact that he went through that. Of course, I saw the picture 500 times after Saturday, because that's exactly what I wanted to see, because I love that kind of shit. I love it when there's a finger going this way, or, you know, player's leg snapped. It's just, ugh. I didn't need to see it, and I saw it like 500 times. But that was a gruesome injury, and like you said, kudos to him for finishing the match.
Yeah.
And I agree, Chris Brown. That is total luck that he didn't break that finger.
Yeah. So the Creed brothers made an appearance, and they went against the Good Brothers, and it was for a taping of Main Event. So, you know, could we be seeing, you know, your boys, the Creed brothers, up on the main roster soon?
I'm sure that once they get there, they're going to break them up after 6 months and have them do completely different things, where not Brutus Clay or Clee or whatever the hell his name is, or where Julius Creed goes on to do his thing, and Brutus Creed becomes like a main eventer, and I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out what the hell they're doing. Where the hell is Roderick Strong in all of this? What the hell is happening with the Diamond Mine?
Will they, in WWE, have the Main Event Mafia on Main Event?
Well, if that was the case, wouldn't Booker T not retire? Because he did say that the Royal Rumble was his last match ever. Plus, they don't. Kurt Angle could probably still do it. Let's be serious. It's Kurt Angle.
Right.
I will never rule out Kurt Angle for anything ever. The man won an Olympic medal with a broken freaking neck.
Right.
But speaking of people who can get in the ring even though they're retired, we finally got the steel cage match between Becky Lynch and Bayley on Monday. And it actually was turning into a pretty decent match until we had a point where Io Sky was trying to climb into the cage, and
a couple of buddies,
and whose music hits?
Lita
makes her way to the ring. I was hoping she was going to do like what Jeff Hardy did when his brother was getting beat up and he made his debut in AEW, and his music hit and he's dancing to the ring. And again, to this day, I would super kick my brother the second he got in the ring if he danced like an asshole when I'm getting my ass kicked. But she came out there to even the odds up. I got a feeling, Jay, that we're going to get not one, but one other returning Hall of Famer for Elimination Chamber.
Yeah.
I got a feeling that with Lita returning and joining forces with Becky, they kind of need a third person to join forces. They're in Montreal. You know, Montreal is not too far from Toronto. We may see the Brainless One's favorite female wrestler of all time, Trish Stratus.
The dish.
Oh,
Trish the dish.
If that's how they're going to do it, and they're going to bring in Lita and Trish Stratus to team up with Becky Lynch to go up against Damage Control, sign me up. Absolutely. I didn't need to see Trish Stratus lose in Toronto to Charlotte Flair. It was unnecessary. You give her in a match, and you know they're going to win. There's no way that Trish and Lita are going to lose in that match. And I can't wait, because you know they could still go. And they are, without question, two of the greatest women performers of all time.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for this. I was happy I popped to see Lita. I was happy for that.
It was great seeing Lita Lita has come and gone several times throughout her life in the last 25 years with WWE. She still looks good. She can still move, and she flirted with AEW, like a year and a half ago, but she's come home, and it was a refreshing and surprising return. As much as I would have rather seen Lita at the Royal Rumble, or Trish at the Royal Rumble, or even Alundra Blaze at the Royal Rumble over Nia Jax, I was happy that we got Lita back Monday on Raw, because who was going to help out, as my brain blanks on this, Becky.
Right.
Who was going to help out Becky Lynch?
Especially because it looks like Alexa Bliss is taking some time for whatever reason, or if she's kayfabe taking time because, Uncle Howdy and Bray Wyatt are trying to bring her back to the dark side and all that stuff. And Asuka, we don't even know what the fuck Asuka is anymore. She's
a ghost.
She's just Asuka's winning the Elimination Chamber. I'm telling you all this right now. It's not even a guess. It's not a prediction. It's a spoiler.
A spoiler.
Asuka is going to win, and Asuka is going to win the Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania from Bianca Belair.
All right. F and Mark's Hall of Famer Gags the Clown asking the brain. Clearly, this is a brainless one question.
Oh, I saw. I don't know what to say, because if she starts calling, her number's already blocked, so I'm fine.
Oh, great.
Yeah, that's believable, right? What's
happening,
up,
Larry? All right. So, didn't get into this. Yeah.
Just like every match that she's in, Nia Jax just derailed the entire podcast. Boom!
Yep, that's what she does. Speaking of getting derailed, poor Jerry Lawler.
Yeah.
Jerry Lawler has not only survived a massive heart attack while on television, he has now survived a massive stroke right outside of his house. And that dude, you want to talk about a dude with 9 lives. But apparently, he was in ICU for most of the week, and they're saying that he's out of the hospital now. Certainly glad to hear that. You never want to hear about, people being injured, being unwell, and King certainly has had many entertaining moments over the years, and certainly appreciate him for that. And
him and Andy Kaufman always sticks out for me because of how great that rivalry was, considering Andy Kaufman was not a professional wrestler. That will go down as one of the greatest rivalries in wrestling history, period. And it's
David Letterman considers that when he became famous.
Yep.
Like, it wasn't until Kaufman and the King were on Late Night with David Letterman that that was really the ascension point.
My favorite part was because I told Brainless' wife what had happened, and I said Jerry Lawler had a stroke, and she's like, "Oh, that's crazy." She's like, "He's old," and I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Well, what do you expect?" I'm like, "The man's wrestling still. He's been wrestling for. There's no way I told her he wrestled just recently.
Yeah,
he literally has been wrestling for like 52 years." And it's crazy because this is the second stroke he suffered. Because apparently he suffered one 5 years ago doing unmentionable things to his fiance. Double up. Yeah. So, like Timmy said, he's the definition of kicking out at 2. Him and Ric Flair. There's no 2 human beings. Oh, them 2 and John Cena are the only 3 that can kick out at 2 at everything.
Right.
But I'm glad to
the fact that, like, his speech has been impacted, and he's dealing with, some mobility issues. I mean, that's to be expected from a stroke, but the fact that he's getting out of the hospital already is huge.
Yeah.
They're expecting him to make a full recovery, which you just never know with strokes, but...
And I hope for the best for Jerry Lawler. I'm so glad that he was able to. Luckily, somebody found him, because he was found face down in his driveway from suffering a stroke. So the fact that somebody found him, I am so glad that Jerry Lawler is still with us. It's good news. I don't wish anything bad upon the King. Like I said, he's one of the architects, not really architects, one of the pioneers of the old school wrestling and how kayfabe was back in the day. He was one of the prime examples of how you do that and to get the heat and the reaction from the crowd and everything. So I like to see Jerry Lawler make a full recovery.
Yeah. Definitely thoughts and prayers go out to the King, and hopefully, he recovers and we see him back on television relatively soon, or on one of our pre-shows with his spray paint on hair.
Yep. Speaking of people who have blocked me on Twitter, the Big Show came out this week and said that he is planning for his in-ring return next month. Yeah, that's my point exactly. I have nothing more to say to that, because nothing says I want to watch wrestling more than watching the Big Slow make his return to the ring at the age of, 50 at this point? I mean, for crying out loud, he was in WWE for over 20 years. He was the Giant. I still have nightmares of him and the Yeti and Hulk Hogan in the ring. And I don't get it. Why? What's the point? You wrestled once. He beat like QT Marshall. He doesn't need to do anything else in the ring. You beat. Oh wait, now I get it. Are they bringing back Marco Stunt so that he beat QT Marshall, and then he's going to beat Marco Stunt so that he'll be the one next in line to fight MJF for the World Heavyweight Championship? That makes sense now. I'm sorry. How did I not see that?
After Bryan Danielson, who, by the way, had the final victory he needed to now go against MJF at AEW Revolution on March 5th, where they will have an hour-long Iron Man match.
And I'll tell you, that match between Danielson and Rush, or I know they call him, it's Rush, but it's Rush. Just like the girl I knew in Connecticut who spelled her name Person, and she pronounced it Pearson. That's like me saying Guy spells Gua.
Gee.
But Gee is correct. But anyway.
I know it is.
But it was a hell of a match. I really wish they would stop doing this. You got to go through the 5 stages of hell to get to my match against me, MJF, because we know it's going to happen again when he either fights Eddie Kingston or Ricky Starks or the man of 1,000 faces, Daniel Garcia. It's eventually he's going to do this same thing because that's all he's ever going to do. And thank God if he goes to WWE, because they'll come up with something better than let's just do this rewind, repeat, reproduce, whatever it is. Recycle, rewind, repeat.
So one of those names referred to MJF as a piece of shit. And I posted it on our page this week, having a little bit of fun with it. I'm like, I wonder who this could be. You know what? I kind of like Eddie Kingston just always being like the little troll at the other end of the room who like has a problem with everybody. He'll say something about it, but he just keeps to himself.
Every day of my life goes by, and I am more and more convinced if I was a professional wrestler, I would absolutely 1,000% be Eddie Kingston. Let's be serious for 2 seconds, Jay. I'm not going to lie. I might be brainless, but at least I have a couple of brain cells to put this together. I am Eddie Kingston. I have a problem with just about everyone. I really do. Nobody that's watching this podcast, I have zero problems with anybody watching this podcast. I have zero problems with you. You know, every Hall of Famer, I love every Hell, I was just talking to FM Mark's Hall of Famer Sean O. when I told him that they were just mad at me at Hampton Roads Championship Wrestling because none of them in that entire building could get heat like the Brainless One could. But I digress. But I am 100% Eddie Kingston. He's a Giants fan for crying out loud. I feel like I should have a black and white picture of him with the gas can covered in blood with the Yankee shirt on hanging over my television in my living room. Eddie Kingston should not be somebody that the Brainless One is against. The Brainless One should be idolizing Eddie Kingston for what he is. I sound like Right Said Ted.
Right Said Ted. That's Timmy's brother, who is the only Nicholas brother not in the Ethan Marks Hall of Fame.
But
I witnessed Ethan Marks Hall of Famer Tim give Right Said Ted a DDT on the floor in my parents' house right in front of his mother. It was one of the greatest wrestling maneuvers I've ever witnessed. And Ted did not kick out on two like John Cena did.
Was it a floating DDT by chance?
It was not.
Oh, that would have been excellent. Oh, man.
Beyond that, you talked about people talking about end games and the boss and MJF kind of being the boss at the end of it. Gunther came out in an interview and said for a lot of people, he's been the end boss for a long time, but his end boss is Brock Lesnar.
The fact that we're probably not going to get the fact that we went from having the Intercontinental Championship being defended inside the Elimination Chamber to not being defended has got me thinking that we're not getting Walter or Gunther and Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania like I was hoping. And I'm really still pissed off that Bucky Beaver pulled the freaking camera away when the two of them had their face off in the Royal Rumble. I don't care. That's what I wanted to see. Shit like that. I don't want to see 47 different camera angles of the crowd. I don't need to see Jimmy in the ninth row eating a thing of popcorn. I don't need to see the guy who's taking the picture, not paying attention to what's going on in the ring. No, I want to see that. And I could even. We
need to see Ms. Girl.
That was fine. The shocked face after the Undertaker lost guy. I mean that was fine. Undertaker losing and you want to pan to the crowd because it's something incredible like that. Yes. Don't pan away when AJ Styles is making his debut in WWE in the Royal Rumble. Don't pull it. Edge was out of wrestling for 9 years and you ruined him. Bucky Beaver. Oh,
damn.
But I digress. But I cannot wait because we are going to get Brock Lesnar and Gunther, and it's going to be, and people will rejoice when it happens.
Yes. And I hope it ends up being like a 45-minute long match.
Absolutely. Speaking of sending the fans home happy, we have new AEW Tag Team Champions, the Ass Boys. I love the fact that people were pissed about the outcome of the Acclaim dropping the belts to the Ass Boys. I didn't stay up to watch it, but I woke up Thursday and I watched it yesterday. I loved it. It was perfect. They did it so right. Those kids have been busting their ass just as much as the Acclaimed have. And I give all the credit I do to the Acclaim. But you know what? The Ass Boys have really progressed themselves as a tag team. And it's crazy to think that the Acclaim got so much better when Billy took over and was like daddy ass for the Acclaimed. But, you know, the Gun Club took off without him. And I'm still convinced that at the end of the day, if there was a team in AEW that belongs in WWE, it's the Ass Boys. They're built for WWE. Let's be serious. But I loved how they did that. That was so perfectly executed. And and you know me, I don't go out of my way to talk about good things that AEW does. They executed that perfect. I made sure I wrote it on my list. I had to talk about that today. I was so enamored with how they handled that title change.
They executed that as perfectly as Tim did the DDT on his brother. you know, they were showing like the cracks in the foundation where Billy Gunn was the one accepting the match for the Acclaimed, and they clearly were not really on board with it.
Yep.
And completely feeling like, oh, Billy's helping his kids out, even though the kids did what they did to him.
Yep.
But he's still their father. He's still their blood, and it was fantastic.
I was very impressed with that. That almost got my good this week. I almost gave it my good because that's how good it was. The fact that they got the reaction they did from the fans made it that much better. I know that the Acclaimed are the hottest tag team in AEW right now. They're going to have a pay-per-view next month. It's not out of the realm that the Gun Club could drop the belts back to the Acclaimed at Revolution. But even if they did that, I wouldn't even.
I hope they don't. I hope they don't.
They deserve this. They deserve these titles. They're not Dominic Mysterio. They've been in this for a while, but they've gotten better. They're good. I like the Gun Club. The Ass Boys. Sorry, the Ass Boys.
Yeah.
I can't have Danhausen curse me, so I'm sorry. The Ass Boys.
Yeah. All right. Right. I don't know how we digress from this, but a couple of things came out. Several months ago, at Double or Nothing, Isaiah Swerve Scott and Ricky Starks got into a legit scuffle backstage over a botched finish during their tag team title match.
Oh God!
And it's just coming out now, but apparently all fences have been mended, and they actually did a podcast on the Cruise of Jericho where they talked about what happened, and I think there was a part that they had planned in the match, and during the match, Swerve was like, I'm going to look like a jackass if I'm just sitting here doing this. I need to do something else so it will make sense. And when he did that, apparently, Starks wasn't ready for it and got pissed off, and they got into it backstage. And apparently, there were people hearing shit going on in the locker room, and oh yeah, that ain't playing around. That's not people just yelling at each other. They're throwing down. And
it's funny because I'm not saying it never happened in WWE, because obviously Chris Jericho and Brock Lesnar got into it one time, and it was Simon Gotch and Kalisto, or not Kalisto, Sin Cara got into a fight, and it happens in professional wrestling. But Mr. Perfect got into a fight with Brock Lesnar on an airplane in the air. But
plane ride from hell.
It seems like there's more of a common occurrence at these pay-per-views, because there's that scuffle at the Double or Nothing. You had the all-out scrum that we still haven't seen CM Punk from, and the fact that they keep throwing those assholes on the TV every single week. You got the situation where Eddie Kingston just came out and said that MJF is an asshole, and he doesn't like freaking Sammy Guevara. There's a lot of animosity in that locker room. It's not a good look. And it doesn't help the fact that their ratings for AEW Dynamite plummet every single Wednesday. They started off at over 1 million views this Wednesday. By the time the main event was there, it was 740,000 people. That's almost 300,000 drop from the start to the end.
And Tony Khan has come out this week and said he's expecting a big increase in the TV rights deal the next TV rights deal that he signs. So currently AEW's rights deal technically up at the end of this year, but there is an option for 2024 if Warner Brothers chooses to execute it, which would be a big jump in TV rights for AEW. And I believe right now they're getting about, I think it's $43.5 million a year.
Sounds about right.
For both Rampage and for Dynamite.
I don't mind.
Considering that they're getting about, I would say, half the ratings that SmackDown is getting right now, and SmackDown's been getting, what was it, like $250 million a year. If I were Tony Khan, yeah, I would expect more money to be coming my way. Like, they have showed at least a consistency as far as like bringing in a certain number of people.
Right.
You know, when they signed their first deal, it's like going, all right, we're taking a shot at you.
Right.
And when they extended them, they're like, okay, we feel a little bit better about you. But now, I mean, you're talking 3.5 years. They're still going. They're still bringing you somewhere between 1 million and like 850,000 people a week to the television, to the cable network. So, Tony Khan, I hope you get that money.
I do too.
I mean, I don't think they're going to be getting 100 million, but I think they'll probably get more money than what they've been getting.
Yeah, I can see. They've been consistently where they've been. They've been around 1 million views. They hit the demos. If they want that money, let them get it. And again, I might have my opinions about Tony Khan, but I still respect the fact that he's doing what he's doing. It takes a lot of balls to do what he does. I mean, granted, it takes your father having a shit ton of money like his dad does, but it still takes balls to do what he's doing because he's actually not doing a terrible job. He could be doing better. I can sit here and tell all the things that they could do in AEW that'd be better, but that's not what I'm here for. I still respect the man for what he's doing and let him get that money when he deserves it.
Speaking of people who are doing a bit better than they were, MLW and Court Bauer. Court Bauer, who has been trying to take WWE to court for some of the crap that they have been trying to pull to, as MLW has said, they don't want their market to soften at all. So they've tried to allegedly block MLW from getting TV clearances, whether it was to be part of Tubi TV or whether it was to be part of Vice TV. Well, now MLW officially has a home for their shows. They're going to be on Reels every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Reels is a top 25 cable network in the United States. So good for MLW for fighting the good fight. You know, they reignited this brand like 5 years ago. And, you know, Court Bauer said in his press release, we are the best kept secret in professional wrestling, and I'm not going to say he's wrong.
I'm happy for them. It's great to see them get this TV deal. I'm gonna have to see if I have the Reels channel on my Hulu, because I'll definitely check it out. I don't know if I'll stay up till 10 o'clock on a Tuesday to watch it, but if it's one of the, because I know if the Hulu works the way it does, I'm sure I can go and watch it at any point because I can watch Raw and SmackDown pretty much at any point. And it's great because there's no such thing as an oversaturation of wrestling. If you give me enough of a good product, I'm on board with it.
Yeah.
But
And one person that we mentioned not too long ago was Chris Jericho, mentioned the Cruise of Jericho, which just finished its Cruise 4. They have mentioned Cruise 5 Alive in January 2024, but also one thing I found really interesting, and I got to give props to a guy that you really hate, Dan Lambert.
Oh, yeah.
Dan Lambert, who is a belt collector.
Yep.
Chris Jericho years ago, after he won the Intercontinental title the first time, he had that belt at least for some time, and somehow it got misplaced. Maybe it was with his AEW championship, the first one he had, and maybe it just ended up in a limo driver's car. I don't know. But Jericho lost it at some point. Somehow Dan Lambert ended up with it and just presented it with to Jericho during the Cruise. Good for him for doing a good thing and doing the right thing. That's freaking awesome.
I respect Dan Lambert for what he did. I saw that. I watched the clip. I thought it was wonderful. I have a whole different feeling of opinion on Dan Lambert because he did that. He was just playing a character. He does sound like he has his balls caught in a vice, but that we'll forgive him for that because there's nothing we could do about that. But that was great. I was so happy to see that, and I was glad that Chris Jericho got his first Intercontinental title back. The single greatest Intercontinental champion of all time, Chris Jericho.
For now.
ever.
I'm just saying, you got The Miz out there, and you have Gunther doing what he's doing.
It's Chris Jericho.
It's too early for Gunther. You could definitely make a case for The Miz.
It's one of those two. At worst, it's either The Miz or Jericho. But
yeah.
I would give a slight edge to Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho's back in my good graces, so we're fine. He's back to being the go-to goats, who's go-to motor goats that ever goated in the history of Goatdom.
And another thing I do want to bring up is, did you see what Gallus did, man?
They're the NXT Tag Team Champions and shit. I was happy when I saw that. That was good shit. It was such a surprise because nobody saw it happening. The crowd was stunned. I was happy because it's Gallus and shit. And I think that, honestly, Wolfgang and whatever Coffee it is, Joe Coffee, Paul Coffee, Steve Coffee, whatever it is.
It was Mark Coffee.
Or Mark Coffee. They're a pretty solid tag team. I've seen them wrestle a few times. They're really good as a tag team. I'm on board with Gallus. And it's not because of a joke and shit. I think that Gallus is a very, very underrated tag team in WWE's umbrella.
Yeah. And as much as I don't always hold his opinion in high regard, the Road Dogg,
oh God,
this week came out and had high praise for Damian Priest. Said, you know what? The dude, since he's come in here, has really learned a lot. Really, he had a certain level of things, and now he is just really kicking on all cylinders. Damian Priest was one of those dudes, like, you know, when you know how old he is, it's like, what are they going to do with him? Like, how good of an ascent is he going to have? With the stuff they're doing with him and Finn, like, clearly the whole idea of the Judgment Day is for Rhea and Dominic. But as much as it was stupid how they got Edge out of it and why they got Edge out of it, at least now they're making it work. And Damian Priest is a key reason. You know, he's changed up his look. He's changed the way he does things, and he's doing great work at this moment. And Road Dogg, you know, coming out, he doesn't need to say anything about this, but he did on his podcast. So kudos to Road Dogg for not being completely tinfoil.
Agreed. And I agree. Damian Priest has been an unsung hero for the Spooky Pals, and I'm glad he's also getting an opportunity in the Elimination Chamber for the U.S. title.
And speaking of the Spooky Pals, coming Elimination Chamber, we are going to have one Finn Balor and Rhea Ripley going against Adam Edge, hide your kids, hide your wives, and Beth Phoenix. I mean, we all knew this match was coming.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was as clear as day when she came out at the Royal Rumble that it was going to happen. And then when she freaking hit her move on Dominic on Monday, I watched that almost as many times as I watched Primetime Brian Lee and the Z-Man from Clash 13 when I watched the rewatch of that. Sure. Yes, Chris Brown, you could pick any member of the Judgment Day to be your Brainless for this week. Demanding Rhea Ripley drop the goth. Yeah, Vince Russo came out and said that Rhea Ripley needs to drop the goth gimmick.
Bro.
Vince Russo just needs to shut the fuck up.
Vince Russo needs to drop the Vince Russo gimmick and just shut the hell up.
Bro, she gotta be like the other girls, bro. She doesn't look good as a guy. Yeah, her character arc is better than 99% of the women in the women's division in WWE. Let's be serious.
Yeah.
Considering where she's come from to where she is now, and I dig her character. She's getting it over. So I don't care what she looks like. She's phenomenal in the ring.
She is. And she's a phenomenal character. Yes. So
I have all my notes. Do you have anything else?
No, I think that is everything I got on my docket for this week.
Oh, so I guess it's time for our good, our bad, and our brainless. What do you got? Yeah? What do you got for your good this week, Cousin Jay?
Dude, I had to go with chalk as much as I don't love doing that. Cody and Heyman just blew blew it out. It was when I put together the promo for this week's show, I called it the greatest promo since the pipe bomb. And I 100% believe that. There have been a lot of really good promos that have happened even this year, in the last 12 months.
I mean, every
but,
MJF promo.
I mean, that was some next level shit right there. That was some next level shit. It was awesome.
My favorite line from that was when Paul said to him, "You might have been Dusty's favorite son, but Roman was the son he always wanted." I was like, oh. And of course, as soon as that came out, the memes of Cody Rhodes in every promo, my father was Dusty Rhodes. And I'm like, great, of course, this is coming out now. Because, yes, it's true, but it's fine. And I would have agreed with you because I actually did at first, but I crossed off my good for this week. I'm going with Chris Jericho. And it's not because of the fact that he had another successful cruise of Jericho that they just got back from. And it's not because he finally got his Intercontinental Championship back from Dan Lambert, and Dan Lambert should get an honorable mention from me for the first time ever for a good for anything. But this Wednesday on Dynamite, Chris Jericho sat at ringside for the entire show until Ricky Starks had his thing with the Jericho Appreciation Society. Jericho sat from 15 minutes before the show started until that part with a luchador mask, wearing a Scissor Me Daddy ass shirt, and nobody knew it was Jericho, and he was there the whole time. I'm sorry, for me, that's all it takes. And he's back in my good graces, my great graces. He's in my goat graces because.
And he's back on Rushmore.
He was never off of Rushmore. Let's be serious. I was never going to kick him off Rushmore. He had to do something really, really nefarious other than helping Sammy Guevara keep his job. And it was great. I'm sorry. I love that they did that because it was there the whole time and nobody knew it. That's fucking awesome. Could you imagine sitting there and you were next to Jericho the whole time? This would be like me and the fact that I missed out at being at Survivor Series 1990 when The Undertaker and the Gobbledygooker debuted.
Sad.
I 33, almost 33 years later, I still haven't forgiven myself for that, and I never will. But
very sad.
Speaking of bads, what is your bad for this week?
Dude, I'm going with Dominic Dijak. And it's not anything he did. It's his finger. Seeing his finger. Holy shit.
That was bad.
That was bad. That's some bad shit, man.
Yeah, I agree. But my bad for this week goes to Toxic Attraction, or the team formerly known as Toxic Attraction. Not only was it bad that you got rid of or you broke up one of your most established tag teams you have when you have 2 women's tag team championships and not enough tag teams to fight for them. You just had a makeshift tag team just win the titles in NXT. And you're going to have Shayna. I mean, yeah, granted, Shayna and Ronda is a different situation. But not only that, but you replayed the barbershop scene and you threw her in the door, which I thought was a nice touch. But the fact is, the poor girl took a nasty bump, and her face was all fucked up from the kick. Just between the breakup and everything that happened, it gets my bad for this week. And it's not because of the fact that they replicated the scene again of the barbershop, but it was just everything. The execution was just not put together well.
Okay.
And what do you got for your brainless?
My brainless goes to one Big Show, Paul White, threatening us with a wrestling match next month. In 2023, I don't need to see you. I don't need to see it.
He had me in the first half. I'm not going to lie. Oh, Jay, yes, in the list of things, the only wrestler I want to see less than the Big Show in 2023 is Nia Jax. And I'm going to end up seeing them both wrestle in 2023. This is incredible. And any other time, and I guess my only question for your brainless is, how many times is he going to turn face and heel during his return match next month?
Over, under. I'm going with 5.
That seems fair. I'm going to go. I'll take that over. Oh, my brainless for this week goes to the individual on social media that was trying to tell me that because I said Roman Reigns was on a higher level than anybody in AEW, that I didn't know that wrestling was not real. Now, mind you, the reason this happened was because he posted all these things, this whole long-winded thing about Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay, and then he made the mistake of saying that nobody in WWE was on Omega's level, and all I did was just put my opinion out there, and then, bro, you know wrestling's not real, right? Yes, I know wrestling is not real, buddy. I had to watch Kenny Omega wrestle a blow-up doll for 11 minutes to tell me that wrestling was not real, and even Ray Charles could see that Kenny Omega ruined professional wrestling, and he's blind, or he was blind,
and he's dead.
There's no way you can come out there and tell me through either social media on your phone, your computer, or to my face, that anything that a man does wrestling a blow-up doll where he eats, not delivers, eats 7 Canadian destroyers, you have no right to tell anybody that wrestling is real or fake. I could go on and on, but I don't want to drag this on. But if you like what you've seen, whether you are a first-time watcher or a continuous fan, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube at the letter T, the letter H, the letter E, the letter F, the letter N, MARKS, the F and Marks. If you'd like to follow, subscribe to us, we will do the same back. That has always been our
mantra. And he did mention Twitter. Now, we've been trying to, every Saturday after the show, post the Brainless and trying to find out what people thought was their Brainless for the week. So make sure you go on Twitter and give a thumbs up or give a vote for whichever side you come down on for that week. On top of that, we are live every week on Facebook, on the F and Marks page. Make sure you set up notifications for when we go live, that you will be notified when we go live, so you can tune in to talk about the sport that we all love to hate, professional wrestling. Oh, by the way, on top of that, I've been posting some stuff on Spotify and Google Podcasts, so make sure, if you're on that stuff, and you're not able to tune in live, that you will actually be able to go back and watch us live. And make sure you give us the subscribe on YouTube, because I've been trying to do some fun stuff, different stuff there, where I take little chunks of the show, like when Brainless One tisms, and put those out there.
I can't wait to see that in a reel next week.
Yeah,
because it's gonna happen. I already feel it. Side note, real quick, Chris Brown. If it wasn't for the fact that this douchebag said to me what he said to me before the show, Vince Russo was going to get my Brainless for his comment about Rhea Ripley. So, but I wanted to get that out there, and I think that's everything, right? That's just. Thank you for the. Jay,
thank you, Thomas.
The new logo looks fantastic. I love it. Even though that my face is no longer on it, I think the logo looks phenomenal. It actually looks better because I'm not on it. But anyway, I think that's everything. I think we've touched base on everything. I think we've cut. Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. And I'm glad that Tommy, F and Marks Hall of Famer, Tommy is here.
Hall of Famer
is here for this.
Got a lot of F and Marks Hall of Famers here.
A lot of them tuned into that. That's incredible. But there is one in particular that we need to mention at this very point. His name is Curtis Axel. And Curtis Axel is known for the fact that today, February 10th of 2023, at an impressive 2,938 days, he is still alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble. Ooh. The Hornswoggle leader. 299 of Everyone's Favorite Wrestling Podcast, the F and Marks.
I'm Jay, and he is
definitely the Brainless One. Make sure you mark out.
With your guac out. I think I'm going to dress up next week into something really fancy.
Ooh, are you thinking maybe we should wear the tuxedo shirts?
Maybe so.
I will have to make
Maybe
sure,
so.
I will have to get that nice and pressed and everything and make sure it's ready to go for next week.
And oh, by the way, spoiler alert, there might be some sort of musical thing happening next week.
Oh, it's not.
You didn't know?
It's not a prediction. It's a spoiler. The Brainless One has a musical number for episode 300 next week, but you'll have to turn in next week to find out.
And the Brainless One has outdone himself this time. I can't wait.
Oh my goodness, thank you, Jay. That means a lot. I can't wait to sing it too. It's fantastic.
I've got some ideas too. There might be some musical numbers that show up from my end of the spectrum, but I'm not going to be performing them live. I'm going to be. I think you're going to like it. We'll see. Yeah.
Sounds
all
good.
Right. All right.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Enjoy SmackDown. We will see you next week. We will talk about Elimination Chamber, and it will be our 300th episode. And yeah, we're gonna have Gerald Butler on the show from the movie 300, so he could discuss with us the greatness of getting to 300.
Yes, This Is Sparta episode of the F and Marks is next week. So make sure you tune in.
And
let everyone
make sure you mark out
with your guac out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. See you, Brainless One.
Later, Cousin Jay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kick ass later.